The story begins with a black hole wreaking havoc in space. The people on the spaceship were witnessing this devastation with their own eyes when something unexpected happened. They saw a massive spaceship emerge from the black hole heading towards them. Before they could understand anything, the ship attacked them, killing many of their crew. Soon their ship was hacked and a message was sent to them in which a man told them that their captain wanted to speak with their captain Hades. If they wanted to save their lives, they should send him to their ship immediately. Finding no other way, the captain was forced to surrender. But before surrendering, he handed command of the ship to a boy named George Correct, saying, quote, "From now on, you are his captain. Keep it safe at all costs." The captain then boarded the space shuttle and headed for the enemy ship. But upon arriving, the sight he witnessed sent his heart racing. A man asks him what the date is today. But when the captain tells him the date, they realize that the black hole has sent them 25 years back in time. Upon learning this, they immediately kill the captain and attack his ship. Their ship was thousands of times larger than George's, so instead of fighting them, George decides to save everyone's lives. By distracting them, George sends everyone out of the escape pods, but when it's his turn, the ship's autopilot malfunctions, meaning he must now operate the ship manually. Meanwhile, his pregnant wife gives birth to his child on the ship. He has become a father. George is overjoyed to learn this. He names his son James Ames. But before he can hear his voice, his ship collides with an enemy ship, killing him. A few years later, we see his son James, now grown up. After George's departure, his mother marries another man. But James didn't like his new father at all. He was constantly causing him some kind of harm, and today, it was his favorite car's turn, which he nearly crashed into a deep ditch. He was driving so fast that the police were chasing him for overspeeding. They told him to stop, but James wasn't going to listen. He crashed his dad's car into a ditch, narrowly avoiding death himself. Meanwhile, on another planet, we find a boy named Spock, whose brain was faster than a supercomputer. He could pass even the most difficult tests in a jiffy. But because his mother was human, he was disliked by his own species. Soon he grew up, passed the most difficult test on his planet, and applied for a job at the Vulcan Science Academy. But being half human, he was expelled from there as well, and this humiliation became the biggest turning point in his life. He didn't give up and decided to create his own identity. We then see James sitting in a club drinking. A girl named Elizabeth walks in and starts flirting with him. He hadn't changed at all over the years, and he was always harassing girls at the club. Seeing this, a bouncer comes over and asks, "Elizabeth, is this guy bothering you?" Elizabeth, not wanting any conflict, says, "No, everything's fine." Despite this, the bouncer refuses and orders his men to kick James out. James replies, "What? Even if 4 more like you come in, you can't throw me out." The bouncer punches him hard, leading to a fight. James hits them all, but he's so drunk he can't even stand properly. Soon, all the bouncers overpower James alone, beating him severely. Before they could kill him, a man named Christopher arrives and forces them to let him go. He tells everyone to leave because he needs to discuss something important with James alone. He learned from the bartender that James is Captain George Correct's son. George and Pi were very good friends during their training, so he has sympathy for James. He says, Your aptitude tests are amazing. There's no genius of your level in the entire Midwest. So what's the matter? Why haven't you applied to Starfleet Intelligence yet?" But James didn't want to die following orders like his dad. Pi feels very bad knowing that James has no idea of his father's bravery. He says, "That day, your father was captain of a starship for only 8 minutes, and in those 8 minutes he saved 800 lives, including your mother's and yours, including you. I hope you do better than him." He hands James a card and tells him that there's a recruitment drive tomorrow morning. He can come there. If all goes well, you'll have an officer's position after 4 years and your own ship after 8. Her words had a profound impact on James. So without asking any questions, he quietly arrives at Starfleet headquarters the next day. There he sees a large number of people who will be trained for the next 4 years. James also meets the girl who caused his beating last night. Shortly thereafter, a man arrives, a doctor by profession. Initially, James and he don't get along well, but they soon become good friends. The story then shifts 3 years forward, and we are told that James was so smart that he completed his 4-year training in just 3 years. While others were struggling to pass the test, James was able to pass it effortlessly, even without doing anything even other. However, he still hadn't stopped his misdeeds. Every now and then, he was caught with a new girl, Moral. Today, he had an important test. It was considered the most difficult test at Starfleet Academy, and only a few could clear it. James was put through a simulation where he had to lead his team to destroy an enemy ship. As soon as the test began, everyone panicked as their ship was constantly under attack, causing significant damage. But James didn't even flinch. To him, it was like a video game. Like every other test, he wasn't taking this test seriously. The enemy was aiming at them, but he said there was nothing to be afraid of. The supervisor thought he was taking such a serious situation lightly. He was about to fail the test when suddenly their ship lost power. As soon as it returned, James attacked the enemy and destroyed their ship. He completed the task without any damage, destroying the enemy ship, and none of his crew were injured, all while eating an apple. The examiner can't believe his eyes. He asks, "How did this boy pass the test so easily?" Spock, who designed the test, replies, quote, "That's what I want to know." He believes he must have cheated because no one had ever passed his test. The next day, James is presented before the Academy's top executives. His report states that he disobeyed council rules and abused his position by acting as he pleased. Before offering his defense, James first wanted to speak to the person who accused him of cheating. This is the first time James and Spock meet face to face, and James tells Spock to his face, "Your whole test is useless, Kawhi. You designed this test so that no one could pass it. This test is unbeatable. That's why I had to change my methods to pass it." What the council considers a violation of the rules was actually the only way to win. But Spock defends himself, saying he endangered many lives in that test. The purpose of the test was to scare them. Only if you do that will you escape death. It was your responsibility to protect your crew members. A Starfleet captain must possess these qualities. Everyone present found Spock's words to be true. The superiors were about to pronounce their verdict against James when they received an emergency alert from the planet Vulcan. The danger was so grave that the hearing was interrupted and all the candidates were ordered to report to Hangar 1 immediately. One by one, the names of those scheduled to go on the mission were called out, but James's name was not mentioned. Upon inquiring, he learned that the Academy had suspended him, meaning he could not participate. Everyone was about to leave him alone when his friend Leo came up with a brilliant idea. He took James to the medical lab where he infected him with a virus. As soon as the virus entered, James began to fall ill. He lost vision in his left eye. He couldn't even stand properly. A guard stopped them at the entry point, but Leo explained that he was his patient. They couldn't leave him alone. He needed to be taken to the ship immediately as a medical emergency. If he wasn't treated immediately, he could die. They got entry by lying, but James's health was deteriorating. Upon reaching space, Leo first gave James an antidote to the virus, which temporarily rendered him unconscious. Meanwhile, Captain Pike prepared the ship for a time jump. The other ships departed for the Vulcan planet, but their ship encountered a problem, causing a slight delay. Meanwhile, a man informed everyone that they had detected lightning strikes in the space near the Vulcan planet. Hearing this, James immediately regained consciousness. He told Leo to hurry to the captain as he understood that this was a trap set for them because His author had received a similar signal 25 years earlier, and their ship was destroyed, But then he began experiencing side effects from the medication. He quickly went to Elizabeth, but before he could say anything, his speech became paralyzed. Somehow stumbling, he reached the control room and told the captain that they shouldn't go there. If they did, everyone would be killed. It wasn't an armored ship, it was equipped with the most advanced weapons. Spock, who disliked him at all, ordered James thrown out, but when Elizabeth told him that they couldn't contact the ships that had gone devalued, something was wrong. Pi immediately issued a red alert, but alas, it was too late. As soon as they reached the planet, they saw that all the ships that had come before them had been destroyed. As they were moving forward, avoiding the debris, they were suddenly attacked. James's suspicions were correct. Here we see the same ship that had killed his father 25 years earlier. They were using a large machine to drill a hole into the core of the planet Vulcan, intending to destroy it. The captain of that ship was about to blow up their starship when he noticed a number written on the ship and immediately ordered them to stop the attack. Captain Pi said, "You have unnecessarily started a war against our Federation. Back off. After that, I am ready to talk to your Federation wherever you want." But Nero only wanted to talk to Spock. Spock asked, "Do we know each other, Ilya?" To which Nero replied, "Not yet, but you will, soon." His demand was that their captain must come to their ship unconditionally and obey everything they say. James knew that they would meet the same fate as his father. Therefore, he forbids them from going near him. But Pi was willing to make this sacrifice to save his people. Before leaving, he made James first officer and gave Spock his captain's position so that he could maintain command of the ship in his absence, or they also had to save the people of the planet Vulcan, but without destroying the machine, they could not use their teleportation beam. He instructed James to go down and destroy the machine. After this, James and 2 other people jumped directly from space. Their heads were about to explode due to gravity, but somehow they enter the planet's atmosphere. Meanwhile, we see Nero, who tells his people to prepare red matter. Red matter was a liquid whose single drop could create a black hole so massive that it could swallow the entire planet. And this is exactly what he was going to do to this planet. Meanwhile, James deploys his parachute as soon as he lands. But one of his companions delayed opening his parachute, causing him to fall directly into the machine's thruster and die. James also narrowly escaped death, but before he could regain consciousness, some people attacked him. A fierce fight ensued. Ultimately, they both killed everyone and destroyed the machine, restoring their teleportation beam. Nero discovered that they had sabotaged his drill, but it was useless because they had reached the core. He then launched a red matter projectile, which plunged directly into the planet's center. Spock realized they were creating a black hole that would swallow his entire planet. He wanted to save his family there at any cost. However, they lived under a rock from which teleportation was impossible. Meanwhile, as a thruster shut off, James's partner slipped and fell. He didn't have a parachute, so James, risking his own life, jumps down to save her. He tells his men to pull them up, but they're falling so fast that their location can't be locked. They both assumed they wouldn't survive. Then someone manually tracks them and pulls them back to the ship. After they return, Spock goes down and sees that his planet is being destroyed. He immediately rushes to his family and tries to bring them out so they can be teleported safely to the ship. As soon as he gets out, he comes within range of the teleportation beam. But teleporting so many people takes some time, and because of this, mere a few seconds, Spock's mother falls into the abyss before she can be teleported. Spock tried to catch her, but he teleported before that. Everyone on the ship mourned her death, but no one could understand the pain Spock was feeling. Spock watches his planet being destroyed before his eyes, leaving a void in his heart that he will never be able to fill. Meanwhile, we see Nero, who has escaped with his captain. He asks Pi for the codes to shut down Earth's frequency, but the captain knew that if he knew the codes, Pi would do the same to Earth as he did to the planet. He doesn't tell Nero the codes, but Nero had other ways to extract the information from him. They torture him terribly, inflicting such pain that even death seems easy. Spock understood that Nero must be from the future, which is why his weapons are so advanced. Directly confronting him would endanger his life and the lives of his crew members. James says that they must first save their captain because if Nero gets hold of the codes, he will destroy the other planets as well. But Spock was not one to make decisions based on emotion. He wasn't going to do anything without thinking things through and asking 10 people for permission. This sparked an argument between the two, and James openly questioned his ability to be a captain. Spock, who disliked him at all, ordered the guards to throw him out. However, when James raised his hand against the guards escorting him, Spock, as punishment, threw him onto an unknown planet. When James woke up, he discovered he was on Delta Vega, a planet covered in ice, cold enough to kill a human in minutes. James tried to make his way through the freezing cold to the nearest outpost. On the way, he encountered an alien that attacked him. He managed to escape and enter a cave. Despite this, the alien persisted. It was about to swallow him alive when a man suddenly appeared with a torch in his hand and frightened the alien away with flames. It was the first time James had seen the old man, but he knew him well. It was then that he realized the man standing before him was none other than Spock, now an old man. He learned that this Spock, along with Nero, had come from the future and knew what was coming. Spock told him that 129 years from now, a massive supernova would explode, destroying the entire galaxy. He had promised Nero that he would save his planet no matter what it took. Spock tried to create a black hole from red matter that would absorb the supernova. But even after the black hole was created, the supernova's heat reached Nero's planet, destroying it. Nero held me responsible for this, so when I was returning after destroying the supernova, he attacked my ship. In an attempt to save ourselves, we were both pulled into the black hole, which sent us 25 years back in time. Nero was the first to emerge from that black hole, and as soon as he did, he attacked your father. After emerging from the black hole, he waited for me to emerge as well. What was minutes for me inside the black hole was years for him. So he waited for me to return for the next 25 years, and when I emerged, he blamed me for the destruction of his planet. He took my ship and spared my life so that I could feel his fear. He threw me here so that I, too, could see my planet destroyed like him. James is momentarily confused. He wants to tell his people about this as soon as possible, but the problem is that the Spock of his time wasn't like the Spock of this time. They never believe him. Then they both go to a nearby outpost where they meet a brilliant but slightly eccentric engineer, Balko. Scott was working on a device that could send anything from one planet to another. He could even teleport a human onto a ship traveling at warp speed. But during this time, he broke several Federation rules, and as punishment, the Federation left him alone on this deserted planet for 6 months. Spock, who had come from the future, told him, "Your theory is correct. This device works. We'll use it in the future." He made some adjustments to his equations, making his device work. Spock told James, "You have to go back and become captain. Otherwise, we won't be able to stop Nero." But James was afraid of what people would say when they asked him how he knew so much. He asked Spock to come along, but he refused. Spock told him, "You have to keep this secret, otherwise everything will be in vain." He then told James about a special rule, one that he could use to remove Spock from his captain's position. Phil Johnsnet. James obeyed and returned to his ship. But a small mistake causes Scott to become trapped in the ship's filtration system. Before he could be trapped and killed in the reactor, James saved him by opening a valve just in time. Their illegal activity alerts Spock to their presence on the ship. By day, he immediately issues a red alert, leading to their capture. Seeing James again, Spock can't believe his eyes. He asks, "We're traveling at vortex speed. How did you get on the ship?" James refuses to tell him anything. He then asks Scott the same question, threatening to court-martial him if he doesn't answer. James tells him to keep quiet. Then James does exactly what Spock told him to do. He angers him. As captain, Spock should have controlled his emotions. However, James thinks that anger, Sabak and Son of Spock. He beats James severely, but he soon realizes the grave mistake he has made. He had violated the rules by raising his hand on his first officer. He felt he was unfit to be a captain, and he resigned from his post. Meanwhile, a man informs James that he has tracked the location of Neros' ship. However, they cannot go directly there, because doing so would expose them to their radar. However, Scott, a genius engineer, says he knows how to reach there without being detected by the enemy. Spock is also willing to assist them in this mission, and it seems that James is becoming more and more confident in himself. Meanwhile, we see Nero, whose next target is Earth. He launches a drill machine into Earth's atmosphere. The high-energy laser beam emitted from it begins to bore a hole in Earth's core, but he had no idea that James was very close. Scott uses his device to teleport them both directly to Nero's ship at Abir. However, upon arriving, they are spotted by the guards. Both escape for their lives. Spock read a man's mind to find out where their captain and the red matter were. They quickly boarded a ship, and since the ship belonged to Spock from the future, the ship's advanced systems recognized this Spock as their captain, granting him full access to the ship. Spock immediately realized James was hiding something from him, but this wasn't the right time for an answer. Spock took the ship to Earth. When Nero learned that Spock had destroyed their drill, he ordered his men to blow up his ship, knowing this would ignite the red matter stored in his ship. Spock took the ship away from Earth, but Nero pursued him and found him. They fired multiple torpedoes at him simultaneously, but Spock didn't retreat, because that was what he wanted. Before a single missile can hit them, the hidden Starfleet spaceship suddenly attacks them, destroying all their missiles. Meanwhile, we see James risking his life to save Captain Bisek. Meanwhile, Spock was heading towards Nero's ship at full speed. By the time Nero realized he was about to collide, it was too late. Before the collision, Spock, along with James and Captain Pike, teleports safely to the ship. As his ship, powered by red matter, collides with Nero's, its molecules ignite, creating a black hole. In an instant, the black hole begins to engulf Nero's ship, shattering it into pieces. James declares, "Your ship has been destroyed. If you obey us, you and your comrades will be spared. Otherwise, you know the consequences." But Nero, so blinded by his vengeance, allowed all his comrades to perish. The black hole swallows them all, making it impossible for them to escape. Before they too are caught in it, James suggests they head home. But as they turn their ship, it's unable to move due to the black hole's gravitational force, IZS. The ship begins to disintegrate, but Scott launches a high-energy warhead into the black hole. The resulting explosion propels the ship forward, freeing them from the black hole's grip. With his bravery and wisdom, James saved the entire world from a major threat. An assembly is held to honor him. James is officially appointed captain of the USS Enterprise. Everyone is happy for him, and Captain Pi is also very proud to see him in this position. Finally, Spock approaches James and applies for the position of first officer on his ship, which James accepts as he desperately needs a capable companion like Spock. The movie ends with this. I hope you enjoyed this story. Thank you for watching.